Hi, this is Tracy Taylor with the Wasatch Taxpayers Association. We're doing the Heber City Council candidate interviews this year, and if you'd like more information on Wasatch Taxpayers Association, go to wasatchtaxpayersassociation.com. These videos will be up there, and also more information. So today we have Yvonne Barney. She is running for Heber City Council. And why don't you introduce yourself and tell everybody a little bit about yourself?
All right. Well, my name is Yvonne Barney. I moved here into Heber Valley 36 years ago from Phoenix, Arizona. I've raised my kids here. I have 4 children, my husband Dell, and I have both been heavily involved with Boy Scouts of America in the community. I was a past district chair. My husband worked for Wasatch County, actually, and is now working for Park City Fire District. I have been working for the same corporation. My company that I work for is a property management company, and I've been doing that for 10 years. I love Heber Valley. We moved here at a time when the community was very small. At that time, it was 4,500. I think roughly about 4,500 for the population, and of course now we are 5th in the nation for the fastest growing micro city, and so those are issues that one of the reasons why I have decided to run for Heber City Council. I am not a politician. This is not something that is a comfortable position for me. I am doing this because of my love for the community. I feel that it's important that we find a balance and that we do everything that we can to conserve the quality of life that we've enjoyed in this community. There's growth, it needs to happen, but it needs to do so responsibly. And that is one of the main reasons that I am running and hoping that we can find that balance and keep that there, and also so that we can let the citizens have a say in how this community is built.
Great. One of the biggest issues we have is the airport. And so I've asked every single person, if that vote comes to the city council, would you vote yes or no for an airport expansion?
I think for me, as far as that's concerned, again, the citizens of this community have been very vocal. There are quite a few individuals, and as far as numbers, I don't think that's something that we really have on either side. But the discussion has been at times heated, but the concern is there. For an expansion means larger airplanes, larger jets. What will that do to the community? What will that do for so many other issues? The noise. Recently, I was in St. George area. St. George has an airport. That's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing to have an airport. I've been going to St. George for years. My mother lived down there, and so I've seen the changes. And I remember when the airport was up on top of the hill, and it was a concern because it was a safety issue. It was a safety problem. And as the city continued to grow, they realized that those safety issues needed to be addressed. As far as safety, yes, those are things that we should always address. But expansion, that's something that we need to look at the demographics of Heber City. Anything that's coming in, I'm pretty sure that mostly everybody can hear large jets flying into the community. During the winter, when you have a lower sky base, as they call it, that's going to be a little bit louder. So for me, I would like to say, give me more information. I'd like to have the FAA make sure that it gives us in writing that we won't be expected to do any more expansions. And if we can get away with not having an expansion and just do what we have right now and to make it safer, I'm for that. But as far as saying, yes, let's go ahead and expand the airport, my answer for that would have to be no at this point.
And I know I've seen you at some of these meetings, so you have been at most of those airport meetings, or I think there were like 3 or 4 of
A
them
couple of them. Yeah.
you've been at.
Yeah.
And so you've actually been to these meetings and gotten involved with the meetings.
Exactly.
Okay. The other thing I want to ask you is the uncontrolled growth that you kind of brought up. You know, the citizens are very concerned that it seems like, and it's a good assumption, that Heber City has actually grown quicker in the last 2-3 years since we've done the master plan, and we spent all those hours volunteering our opinions to get the codes right and to the densities. The city has been allowing higher densities in the past 2-3 years, and we're actually on a faster trajectory to get to those numbers of 2050. We're already not starting out very good because we are allowing higher densities for these developers. How do you feel about that, and what's your philosophy of how you would be governing and voting on these developments?
Well, first let me say, I think it is not an easy position to be in any type of government where Heber Valley has been a small community. People want to keep it that way. Can we keep it that way realistically? No, I don't think we can. I think we've passed that point. There's no going back. As far as stopping growth, that's unrealistic. We can't stop it, but we can be smarter about it. I think we need to be more responsible. I think we need to, once, kind of step back, see where we're at, reassess the master plan. I think that needs to be done every 2 years, not something where you're in an administration and here's what we start with and then we change. You know, I think it needs to be reassessed. I think there needs to be an accountability there as well. There have been promises that were made to the community, and that's what the community hears. And I think that's what we are stepping away from. And it's so important. You can't dismiss the concerns of your citizens. They live here every day, work here. It's not just a select few. I am in no way against an individual wanting to do with their land as they wish, but I do think there needs to be strict ordinances there, and it makes it easier, I think, also for the developer. You know, if you know what you're coming into, what's expected of you, what type of density will be expected, well, you're not going to be asking for more because you know where your council stands, you know where the city stands, and you know where the community stands. So as far as growth, I think that's something that we need to do. I think there definitely needs to be a step back, reassess your master plan, make sure that those things are being discussed, listen to your community, listen to the citizens, and be willing to hear what they have to say and not dismiss it. I think when we get to the point as a government where we decide, hey, this is how it's going to be, you know, we can see it and ignore, you know, and I hate using that word because it sounds a little harsh, but in some terms, I think that's how some citizens are feeling at this point, that those dreams and hopes that they had in the beginning of the master plan are being ignored. And so it's time to reassess. So let's step back. I'm not saying stop the growth. I'm saying let's do it and be responsible about it.
So let me just make sure I understand what you're saying as far as there are zoning codes in the city, and it has the density that is allowed within those codes. Are you going to stick to those density requirements, or are you going to give extra density to developers for any particular reason, whether it's a little more trees on the street? I mean, honestly, that's what they said. If you put a few more trees on the street, we'll give you this ask that you asked for. And it was like, trees? I mean, how is it? So that's what I'm asking is are you looking at that code and are you going to stick with the densities that are allowed only?
Definitely. I think that's, if you make, it reminds me, and I hate to use this expression, you know, but I've raised 4 kids and they've all passed their teenagehood. And during those years, it's, you know, any parent that you talk to out there is going to say, it's a difficult situation. You know, your kids are always trying to stretch that line, cross over the line. They may take an inch, they may take a mile. Sometimes you pull them and you rein them back in, but then they say, oh, well, mom or dad gave me that inch and mile back then, so maybe I can get it again now. In a lot of ways, I think that that's something that we need to recognize. It's the same concept in many ways. If you give the inch, you give the mile, and then you suddenly stop it, well, they're going to come back and they're going to want to. I think it's important that when we set those codes and we set those boundaries, set the density, and we set the building codes and the ordinances, that we stick to them. There cannot be any diversion. Either way.
Okay.
Either way.
The other big issue is that resort corner on the southwest corner of River Road and Highway 40. Again, a lot of people are very concerned about that corner. It's in our annexation map. The city said they were going to pull it out of their annexation map, city council. They voted for it, and then when they went through that whole process, a vote got flipped, and it actually stayed within the annexation map. But I'm asking you, how do you feel about that corner? You know, do you think it should be annexed into the city?
I've heard some of the concerns as to why the city would like to keep that annexed in. I realize that there is a concern that if they're not, there's the potential for it to turn into a whole nother city separate from Heber City, which means, you know, more tax dollars or whatever else you want to say going towards them, and more of everything that they would like to have, and that's the concern. With that, when you drive into Heber Valley, what's the first place that you see? That's an iconic view. That is Heber Valley. I think there's even a sign out there as you're driving into Heber Valley that says this is Heber Valley. And what does it have showing in the fort in the background is that view. The community does not want that view taken away. I think as you talk to, it's not just the community. We are, whether we like it or not, very much so a tourist community in a lot of ways. People drive into the community for whether it's recreation, driving through, passing through, staying here, enjoying their time here, whatever it is. That is an important area. If we're talking about protecting our resources, our environment, everything that says Heber Valley, that is one area that I think that we should I think it needs to be booted back to the county, but will that be the right, will that be the right choice? In that regard, that's something that needs to be looked into. If they do decide, and if we decide as a city council to keep it in, well then, what are we going to do to protect that? What are we going to do to protect that view, to protect those north fields, to protect everything that is there? And I think that that's something that needs to be spoken and not ignored and not excused.
So you brought up the point about citizens and how they're feeling about Heber City government right now, and you've attended a lot of the meetings in the last year there. Do you think the citizens have a point? And because we've witnessed what has happened. A lot of people hear what happened.
Yeah.
Because there's only so many people on a Zoom call. You see who's on that meeting.
Yes.
What do you think of how the city has treated the citizens in the last year?
you have a city government. You have your planning committee, you have your city manager, and then you have your council, and you have the legislative body of everything. I think in a lot of ways that we have to have those two combined, and everyone needs to be on the same page. And part of that being on the same page is that there needs to be more diversity in the city council. I'm not a politician. I'm not someone who can sit before you or anyone and say, well, I've got this experience in government, or I have this experience in planning and development, or any of those things. I have the experience of living it. That's my superpower, if you will. And I think that when we ignore the people and their superpower, and they're saying, there's too much traffic on Main Street, I'm concerned my housing prices are through the roof. Well, do we compensate that with higher density? I think we've seen that happening in the valley on the Wasatch Front. That hasn't changed the housing prices. They are still climbing. There are so many issues that are there, and if we continue to step away from what the community is telling us, we are at a precipice right now in Heber City. We can go forward, keep growing, keep exploding, or we can stand here for a second. I'm not saying stop. That's not what I want to do. I don't want to stop growth. I want to stop irresponsible growth. I think it is so, so important that we listen to our citizens. They live here. They work here. If they can't afford to work here, live here, then they're not going to work here. So those are things that we need to bring back. We need to pull back in and say, okay, what is being said to us? And if we have the attitude of, well, we know more, we understand more, then we're missing the point of service for our community and of being servants for our community.
Okay. The mayor has been interviewed already, and she brought up the fact that she's very concerned about the taxes of Heber City residents. That Heber residents do pay Heber fees and taxes, and then also services out in the county as well. And she, obviously didn't think that was fair. I brought up one of the biggest costs to the city is actually that we pay for our own police department, and we pay for the county sheriff as well. I'm not asking you what you think we should do. I'm asking every candidate, would you at least have a study done for the community to see if there's some cost savings for county residents along with Heber City residents? Because if Heber City's not paying for their own police department, those funds could possibly help the county residents as well. I'm not sure. I don't know the answer to this problem, but I'm just asking if at least you would vote to have a study done on whether we can save Heber City taxpayers in services.
I see what you're saying. That is definitely something that I can honestly say that as far as my knowledge, all I know is how it hits me in the pocketbook. And we've just had a property tax increase for many residents across Heber City. It was not a popular decision by the city. What their motivation for that was, I'm not sure. I do think that there needs to be a little bit of transparency there and let the people know where are those monies going. Would it be a good idea to do a study? Again, it goes back to what I said before. We have to reassess. I think that when we start with something and start with a plan, and then we take off and think that we're going in the right direction, and then we ignore the red flags that start coming up, or the warning, the outcry, that's when we lose focus on that plan. So stepping back, reassessing, doing studies, finding where can we ease the pocketbook of our citizens. I think that's something that is so important, and yes, I think that would be a good decision on the city council's part. I think it would be a good decision from both entities. Of course, we're not here for that.
Right.
But I do think it is something that needs to be discussed. You know, we're unique here in Heber Valley in that our two governments, the city council and county council and county governments, are so intertwined in so many different things. It's a small landmass that we have here in Heber.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we're not a Utah Valley. We're not a St. George Valley. I mean, even Park City has a little bit larger landmass. So our situation here is unique in that we do need to work as two governments willing to serve the community. And if there's a way that we can provide answers, provide an easement, an ease for those situations for our citizens, it's something we should definitely look into.
Okay. Also the bypass. We're waiting to hear back from UDOT. We're kind of past the public comments.
In limbo?
Yeah, and there's going to be one more public comment time coming up, I think late September, late October, whatever. So there's that last little push. I'm just asking, do you believe we need a bypass? And, you know, how do you feel about the whole bypass issue?
The bypass issue. How long have we been hearing this discussion in our community? It has been years. When my husband started working for Wasatch County, nearly 25 years ago, it was a discussion then. There was land that was set aside, you know, things, there was the movement forward, and then we stopped. And now, here we are. I don't think this is an easy answer, in all honesty. I think this is something that is going to take a lot of sacrifice in different directions, not just from the citizens, but also from the city government and from the county as well. I think that we need to realize that we do have a problem on Main Street. There is literally no getting around it. I mean, it's hard to take any side roads. You have your local community taking side roads, you know, and now those are becoming congested. You have through traffic coming in from Provo, people coming in from Park City, leaving and driving back into the valley, or whether they're going into, you know, there are so many, let's put it this way, roads in and out and through this issue. Do we need it? Yeah, I do think there needs to be something. And whether it's an actual bypass, would that mean that we would be going right through the North Fields? You know, I mean, that's definitely a scary point. Then again, here we are encroaching upon the one thing that makes Heber Heber. So there needs to be studies, and there needs to be, I mean, the people need to be willing to say, hey, here's some ideas, and will we be heard? Again, there it goes.
Right.
We need to be willing to listen, and we need to find a solution so that it's not going to be an easy solution, and it's not going to be something that everyone's going to be happy with. But at this point right now, we can't ignore the problem. And if we are adding with new development that's coming in, 5,500 units in one of the developments, you're looking at an influx of 10,000 citizens, potential 10,000 new citizens in our community. And you cannot tell me that that is not going to play a huge part on Main Street.
Okay. So tell everyone why they should vote for you and where they can contact you.
Okay. I think that as far as voting for me, you know, I believe that I am completely different from anybody else running for the candidacy right now. I am not a politician. I am someone who's a citizen who's lived in this valley, and I've seen the changes here. I want us to preserve the quality of life that we have here and still be able to move forward, but do so cautiously. I'm not against development. I'm against development for development's sake. I think that we need to, as a community, pull together and to recognize that we have some huge growing pains here in Heber, and that those growing pains need to be addressed, and we need to do so as a unit, not separate, not with separate agendas. It needs to be something that we do for the community. And because I am a citizen, that's what I want. I want to do this for the community. I want our community to stand tall, and I want us to be unified on the future and what we have, and so that we can leave a great legacy for our children, our grandchildren, and the future Heberites that will be coming here. You can find me. I'm still struggling with my website. I'm not a tech-savvy person, but I will have my website up tomorrow, and it will be under Barney with the number 4, Heber City Council, and you can find me on Facebook and on Instagram.
Great, thanks so much, and thanks for watching, and we'll have another interview soon. Thank you.